Basi mpenzi mtazamaji, karibu sana katika kipindi cha siku ya leo, The Legal Tuesday, na ni kipindi ambacho kinalenga kukusaidia wewe kuweza kushughulikia masuala yako ya kisheria. Kama kuna mambo ambayo kidogo unasikia kwamba yanakuchangamoto katika mambo ya sheria, ndio maana tuko hapa katika siku ya leo katika kipindi cha Legal Tuesday. Tumekuwa tukiangazia masuala mbalimbali kuanzia mwaka uliopita, tuko katika mwaka wa 2024 tukiwa na mambo tofauti katika mwaka huu kukusaidia kuweza kushughulikia mambo mengi tu ambayo tunataka kuiangazia katika kipindi cha siku ya leo. Wiki iliyopita tulizungumzia mambo ya a way to open business, na tulikuwa na mgeni katika studio ambaye ni Advocate of High Court Bwana Ayuka Ondieki, ambaye pia yuko ndani ya studio siku ya leo. Tuangazie masuala ya kuweza kuona kwamba ukitaka kufungua biashara yako utaifungua vipi, ni sheria gani ambazo zitakusaidia kuweza kufungua biashara yako. Tukaangazia mpangilio wa kufungua biashara na vile vile kanuni na vile vile tax na mambo kama hayo inayohitajika wakati ambapo unafungua biashara. Leo tutakuwa tukiangazia kidogo kuhusu mambo hayo, tukifanya recap dakika kidogo, alafu baadaye tuangalie today about the business taxes. Unapofungua biashara yako kuna tax ama ushuru ambao lazima ulipe kwa serikali. Tutakuwa tukiangazia masuala hayo. Leo tunauliza swali moja: what business taxes would you love to be abolished, or what business taxes should be abolished? Ungetaka ushuru gani uweze kuondolewa katika mambo ya kufungua au kuendesha biashara? Our SMS number 23813, samahani 23814 23814, ama WhatsApp number 0721 105. Karibu sana, tuko na mwenzangu Mangichomola. How are you my brother?
Na njema sana mwenzangu Paul Kagi, and it's a beautiful day. Good to see you again on this particular episode of the Legal Tuesday, and as you've rightly put it, we are indeed on set for yet another very captivating discussion so that we can help our viewer to be in a position to understand the laws and the legal parameters that they need to put into consideration. Those who are already in business, those who are aspiring maybe to establish different business premises. I believe this is really going to be a very enlightening program for them where they are, so that at least they don't find themselves on the wrong side of the law. It's good to see you, Kagi. Hoping you're also having a great day.
Yes, very well, and I'm happy to have this discussion today. Looking for ways to be able to operate business in a legal manner.
Absolutely.
And you remember last week we really discussed about this matter in depth.
Sure. On
how you have to start your own business and all the legal issues that are needed for you to open a business. And today we are going to move a little bit deeper on this matter. And of course we have many segments which are going to help us also to be able to enlighten public on various legal matters. Na maybe Mangicho, kabla kuendelea mbele na our drama tuko nao leo, kuweza kutupatia the light of what we are talking today, tumkaribishe Bwana Ayuka Ondieki katika studio zetu za MBCI TV. How are you?
Thank you.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Karibu sana wakili.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's
nice to be here. It's okay.
Yeah.
The week has been good.
Yeah.
We are up and about, and we thank God for that.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome to Legal Tuesday today.
Thank you.
And after we have a short drama, which we are going to show, a very short skit.
Yes.
We are going to maybe have a small discussion about the skit.
Yes.
And then you are going to give us a recap. I don't know whether you have been a teacher before.
I had ambitions to be a teacher, but then they never came to be. I talked to only one person, all three people I call judges. So my class is limited.
Okay.
Yes.
Today we are going to give you a chance to become a teacher.
Yes.
You give us a recap of what we did last week.
Yes.
Before then, we want to go straight to our skit of the day. Welcome.
Yeah. Wacha nitakupigia baadaye. Sawa. Jambo mzee.
Jambo.
Yes.
Habari yako?
Salama.
Karibu sana.
Hii kitanda imenipendeza. Na ni mzuri sana. Kwanza ambao yenye tunatumia ni ya maana sana. Kila hii kunaona ni material yako pale, ukiziangalia ni imported. I love even the color. Aha. Na ni kitu yenye unaweza safisha. Yes. Na ni ya maana sana. Tafadhali, hii ni mzuri sana. Bei yake iko aje? Hii kitanda tunaiuzaga 100,000. Hiyo ndio bei yetu. Unaonaje? Lakini si unaweza kutengeneza bei kidogo tu. Unaweza teremsha 97. Hapana. 97 ni mzuri. Haiwezi kuja 95. 96 mwisho. No. I'm in need of this bed. Ifanye 95. Kuna na hiyo ni yake kila kitu ukitaka tunahitaji tunaziweka tu saizi. Okay, 95 tumekubali sawa. Let me unaona uko na till pale, so I can just wewe hapana, tafadhali usiniwekee kwa till. Saizi hatuweki pesa kwa till. KRA inatufuata kwa till sana na tumesuspend maneno ya till kwa saizi. Tafadhali. It is okay, then I can let me just then send the money straight kwa nini yako kwa simu. Fanya hivi, enda utolee mimi pesa uniletee cash. Kwa sababu hata simu yangu, naona simu yangu imekuwa ina photo na KRA na sitaki mahali nitaonekana na KRA, tafadhali. Kwa hivyo uniletee cash. Naona nimekumpunguzia bei. Enda uniletee. Sawa, if that is the way unafanya, then wacha na mimi nitayarishe. Yes. Unachukua muda gani tafadhali? Sumenia na M-Pesa karibu hapa kwa jirani tu hapa hivi. Yes. Enda kimbia tafadhali, nakugoja. Natayarisha. Hata wacha nianze, utakuta kila kitu imekuwa tayari. Sawa. John. Habari customer? Salama sana mzee. Karibuni sana. Salama sana. Karibu. Uko vipi? Niko sawa. Nasema nikutembelea kidogo. Karibu. Niuzie nini? Naona biashara bado iko sawa hapa. Kabisa. Naona siku hizi unajua serikali ilifungua forest. Forest ambao hakuna bei. Asante. Sasa tunakuja kujua tu kitu moja kuhusu malipo yako ya ushuru. Ushuru tunalipa. Kuna shida gani? Tunaona kuna till inaonekana imekuwa open, lakini till yangu inaonekana iko active. Hakuna biashara, ni vitu tu tumeweka hapa. Hai mzee, huwezi fungua biashara kila siku na hakuna kuuza. Umeona mtu hapa amekuja kununua tafadhali? Tumekuwa hapa mzee. Siku gani? Tukifungua iTax tukiangalia tunaona bado till yako yenye register nayo iko very active. Ndio, haifanyi kazi. Hakuna kazi inaendelea hapa. Unajua vile uchumi iko. Hakuna watu wananunua hizi. Hata nilikuwa nafikiria kufunga hii biashara. Ukiangalia vile kuko hizi biti, angalia vumbi. Wapi? Mzee hizi angalia hata hii kiti. Angalia hata hii. Kama ingekuwa na customer ingekuwa zimeenda. Hatufanyi chochote. Sasa unafungua biashara kila siku hakuna kila tunafungua kugoja customer wako. Hata nilikuwa nafikiri nyinyi customer. Naweza wauzia hata nyinyi. Kuna vitu mzuri hapa. Lakini mzee, huwezi kuwa hapa na hauzi. Sasa tutafanya nini? Uchumi ni mbaya. Tutafunga, tutaenda kazi nyingine, na hii ndio kazi yenye tumezoea. Sasa kama dini yako ifanye, tili yako ifanye, tungetaka kujua unalipwa, unauza aje, unauza namna gani? Hauna document ya hii biashara yako. Document kuhusu kulipa ushuru, hauna marisiti, hauna ETR, hauna. Ndio. Sikatai ile yote mnasema. Ni kweli kabisa. Lakini ETR, nyingine mnaita nini? Mashine gani? Hii ya kulipa na simu. Hii ya simu? Ya tili. Hakuna kitu watu yako iko active, lakini haina mzee. Unalipa aje rent ya hii nyumba? Hii nyumba niko na deni. Na uko na wafanyikazi. Niko na deni kubwa sana ya hii nyumba. Kwa hivyo hakuna kitu tunauza hapa. Na wafanyikazi unawalipa aje? Niko na deni yao. Na waona wanajaa huko. Tunajaribu bahati, hata nilikuwa nafikiri nyinyi ni customer. Unafungua biashara mwaka mzima, hauzi na haufungi biashara. Na umejaza wafanyikazi huko na waona vijana wamejaa huko. Nyinyi ndio mnaibia serikali. Mnasema serikali inaokota ushuru lakini hata hamutoi. Kuna kitu unatuficha mzee. kuna kitu hakificha.
All right, there we go. Mangicho, hai bwana. That's how Kenya is. Kuna watu ambao wakili wanafungua biashara, lakini wako tayari kulipa ushuru. Na si lazima kuwe ni ati ushuru, lakini they don't want to pay the required taxes
and costs.
What do you say about that clip there?
Like we finished last week, we said that it is generally cheaper. This actually cheap to comply than to be forced to comply with taxes, with municipal regulations, and all that. So what I think is that it is easier for our friend to be compliant, first of all, to keep records. Second, to ensure that taxes that are due are paid. Of course, I'm sure he's paying input taxes. He has purchased timber, he has purchased nails, he has paid VAT somewhere of the inputs for what he's selling. But then he has failed to pay the output tax, the sales tax. That's what they're trying to check. And again, what at the end of it, when KRA does an in-depth analysis of your business, and you start dealing with estimates, it becomes very, very difficult.
Or when you are working with estimates?
Yeah, when they start telling you now, we're going to investigate you, we're going to do an estimate of what we think you should pay, it becomes more complicated. It is easier to be upfront. KRA is very organized. Every taxpayer in the country has somebody called a relationship officer within the local KRA office. If you are in Nakuru, there is somebody at KRA who is in charge of your account. It is very easy to go there. All of us have had problems with taxes. It is very easy to go there and say, so and so is your person, and you sort it out.
The role of the customers in maybe helping to pay taxes. You see the customer there was convinced the importance of not paying using a till, and he opted to go and support the business person. They are collaborating not to
by withdrawing money.
Well, there is a saying we have that tax evasion and tax avoidance. Tax evasion is an offense, it's a crime. That's what they were doing. Tax avoidance, if he was selling those products to a charitable organization that's not going to benefit, you can say that the taxes have been avoided because of the use the item is going to be put into. But evading tax by using a payment system that cannot be traced is illegal.
It's illegal.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, that one caught me because of the aspect, Kagi, that it's like now the businessman is actually maybe trying to insinuate it, that it's like maybe we are avoiding this because maybe it looks like this is a tax that is quite oppressive. So, Wakili, I was just trying to imagine, I was just trying to wonder at what particular point would one maybe be justified maybe to argue maybe that a particular law is oppressive?
Taxes are usually the product of the parliamentary bill, the yearly bill that is passed by Parliament. The assumption behind it is that you are represented in Parliament, your representatives are gauged, and they said that VAT of 16% or 8% or 12% is good for this product. So there is no time at which you can say that tax is outright oppressive. You have been taxed because you are represented at the table of deciding that amount of the tax by your member of Parliament. you are asked for rates or for parking fees because your MCA and the people who represent you at the ward level have sat down and said, well, in Nakuru, let's people pay.
Although some people would say that, or some people would want to also maybe contradict that particular position and maybe argue that some of these lawmakers, they will come with these particular laws because of maybe a major political inclination or interest, without necessarily looking into the welfare or the plight of those that they are serving.
It's a complicated situation in that regard because sometimes our representatives forget where they were elected to. They're elected to Parliament or to the County Assembly to represent citizens. But you'll find a member of Parliament, an MCA, saying that they were elected to government. They're the ones who formed the government. The executive is different from the legislature. The legislature is supposed to do the work of oversight and representation. At the local level, the MCAs are supposed to oversight the governor. The members of Parliament are supposed to oversight the executive led by the president. But then the problem we have is that as our system develops, we have mixed up the issues. We have members of Parliament talking as if they were elected to the executive and not to the legislature, which is Parliament. That is where that confusion arises from.
Yeah. Na kuna kitu umezungumzia kidogo kwamba kila mwaka bunge linajadili na kupitisha sheria kuhusu ushuru.
Yes.
I don't know why it should be annually. Kwa nini zifanyike kila mwaka? What would be the reason behind that?
The reason is that other than a few taxes that are fixed, there are budget lines to be funded for the government in the following year. So the government comes up with its estimates, then Parliament approves taxes that go along to filling up those taxes. But a majority of the taxes are actually fixed by legislation. They are somewhere in the law.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that means that the taxes that we pay in various cadres are not static.
They are not static, in that they get approved each year, but sometimes the amount might be the same. But they may change from one year to the other. But the legal position, the legal anchor for the tax, that once you import a vehicle, you shall pay 8% of this, is already in the law. Oh. Yes. So what may change is yearly, they may make it 9%. All there is amendment of exercise duty act may cause a difference.
Anyway, just before we come out of that, Wakili, what about now the place of judiciary? Because like we've said, sometimes most people would feel that a particular law that maybe has been passed by the law-making bodies, like maybe the National Assembly or even maybe at the county assemblies, they might think that they are quite maybe drastic or not maybe in tandem with what maybe most people would think is standard or required. When it comes now to judiciary in terms of interpreting a particular law, is there an avenue for the judiciary to strike out such kind of a law? Yes.
The judiciary has the right of interpreting the law and declaring what the position of the law is. One thing you have to understand is that the judiciary is an end user in terms of interpreting the law. Once Parliament has passed it, a citizen or an organization or a company comes to court and says that this law here is oppressive. The judiciary does not have any power to know which cases are coming before it. The judiciary is an end user of the complaints of the public and the business community. Once the matter is filed, the judiciary must go to the act that anchors the legislation. It must look at whether it is reasonable. It must check on every aspect of that law. It must check whether the law arose from a policy that was discussed and the people people, there was public input, that's public participation, and Article 118, it must check whether this instrument that you are using has been done in Parliament. Parliament has approved it, and once all the parameters come together, the judiciary will say, well, proceed with the law. Or say, no, this law is unconstitutional or illegal for this and that reason.
All right.
Yes.
Haya, sawa sawa. Basi mpenzi mtazamaji, ndio hivyo basi tumekuwa tukiangazia kuhusu mchezo wa kuigiza ambao tumekuwa tukiutazama tu in a short while, and leo tunazungumzia kuhusu ushuru unaotozwa katika biashara. Natumai basi wakati mwingine umekuwa ukiendesha biashara na kuna ushuru ambao unatozwa katika biashara yako, na labda unashangaa ni kwa nini. Tuko na aina tofauti ya ushuru. Leo tutakuwa tukiangazia swala hilo baadaye kwa kina zaidi, na tuko na wakili wa Mahakama Kuu Ayuka Ondieki kuzungumza nasi kuhusu masuala haya. Na kama una swali kwake basi tuko hapa. Nambari yetu ya SMS ni 0721105105. Hiyo ni ya WhatsApp. Kwa SMS ya kawaida ni 23814 our ordinary SMS, but for WhatsApp 0721105105. And we are asking you today, what business taxes should be abolished? Unapoendesha biashara ni gani ambayo, ushuru gani ambao unahisi kwamba unahitajika kuondolewa? Sawa. Lakini wakili, kabla tuingia hapo, wiki iliyopita tulizungumzia mengi kuhusu unafungua biashara vipi. Labda kwa mtu ambaye ni mara kwanza kutazama kipindi hiki, kwa muktasari tu, tukumbushe mtu anapofungua biashara yake ni vigezo gani ambavyo anastahili kushughulikia?
Tuseme hivi, kwanza mtu mwenye anafungua biashara amefanya mpangilio wa biashara zake na amejua ile kazi yenye anataka kufanya. Cha kwanza amepata chumba kwenye atakuwa anafanya biashara. Pili, ametengeneza njia yenye atapata the product zenye atakuwa anauza. Amejitayarisha kufanya biashara.
Right.
Sasa kama hataki kufanya biashara in person, that is yeye mwenyewe kama Onyango, Wambui ama somebody else, lazima asajili biashara. Inatakikana kwamba aende kwa business registration. It's very simple. Naweza kuregister business name yenye itakuwa biashara yake, yeye ndio muhusika, na hata sheria ikimfuata itamfuata yeye mwenyewe. Anaweza kusema kwamba hii biashara yangu inatakikana niwe na mwenzangu, so anaweza weka partnership. So that's another form. Na ikiwa biashara imekuwa vizuri kabisa, anaweza kusema kwamba waje nianzishe company na watoto wangu na bibi yangu ama na wengine, na hiyo company nitaisajili. So those are the main ways of registering businesses. The businesses are very simple to register these days. Business registration services at AG's office imefunguliwa huko Upper Hill. They used to be in the AG's office. These days are at Upper Hill. But they are represented in every Huduma center. And it is very easy. Ukishachagua the model, ni kuenda huko unaambiwa hii unafanya hivi, hii unaenda hivi mpaka unasajili. Ama unaweza kwenda kwa wakili na atakusaidia kuregister. Yeah. Na iko fees ya kulipa kwa registration. The various fees. Business name ni shilingi 950.
Ukitafuta jina ya biashara yako.
Jina ya biashara yako.
Hiyo jina peke yake unalipia 9.
Unafanya search, registration itakuwa 950. After you have done search na shilingi 500. Sasa jina imejulikana, umeenda huko, umechukua majina matatu in the order of preference, na umehakikisha kwamba sasa jina yangu, the name you want is available for registration. Inakuwa sasa you pay 950 for registration.
Hapo kwa majina kidogo kabla utoke, kuna wakati mwingine Mangicho, nadhani tumeshuhudia ukienda kufungua biashara yako na unapata jina nimeandika, mtu ameandika Mangicho and Kagi Advocates. Alafu pia upate mwingine ameandika Magicho and Kagi Advocates. Mwingine Kagi, sasa tubadilishane. Kagi and Magicho Advocates.
Yes.
Sijui wakili, ni wapi haswa ambapo tunaweza kuwa tunaangalia zaidi kuona kwamba majina ambayo tunachagua itusumbui zaidi? Where exactly is the trick when you are choosing the name for your business?
Business names are a personal choice. Nimekuta wenzangu wengi sana wameregister business, na hiyo business ukienda internet utakuta ni jina ya duka iko Nigeria. Naenda nafanya Google, anapata beautiful boutique yenye iko in Lagos, Nigeria, anajua kwamba hiyo jaguar registered Kenya hapa, anairegister Lexus boutique. So ni personal choice. There is a joke kwa business community, ukiwa mtu mwenye ametoka Nakuru, Laikipia, Murang'a, Nyeri, hizo county sote, most of them, the people who live there, watu wanasema watu wa central, most of them combine the name of the man and the wife and they form a business name. So you have Luma Furniture, which is Lucy and Mashari. Na kama inapatikana, kama the registration bureau says the name is available, it is registered. Na iko ingine inanisumbua kidogo, sababu inaonekana everywhere you go there is a Peneza butchery. So if it is registered, it must be double, triple, 100 times registration. From Kitale to Mombasa, there is a Peneza butchery somewhere.
Nikuulize kidogo, it's not allowed to share the same name when you are registering business. But for example, let's talk about Ebenezer.
Yes.
Ebenezer, you can use maybe E double B or E single B.
Yes.
If I use single B,
yes,
and he uses double B,
yes,
is that correct?
It will not be correct to confuse the public. What may change is calling it Ebenezer Mwisho wa Lami Butchery, so that you locate it. Hiyo itakubariki. Yes. I'm Ebenezer Kitale Kona Butchery. Yes. Because I don't think sote hizo zenye nimeona Kenya hii kwamba sote zimesajiliwa na zinaitwa Ebenezer, all of them. It cannot be possible.
What about wakili? Yes. Okay, you've gone for a name,
yes,
you've paid for it, you've reserved it,
yes, but
actually on the ground, that business is not there.
Yes.
How does it work? For how long? In terms of law, is one given that yes, this is the name that you've reserved, yes, but by this particular time we should have seen you actualize your business?
Most of the time, registered names, the business registration service does not have a method by which it will ensure you use the name you registered. You registered to do business in Molo, you have not started the business, they will never know. What you have effectively done is to block other people from using the name. So it will be searched there, so long as perhaps if it's a company and you are making your returns, somebody will go there and say, no, that name is not available, they register the names. Yes. But there is no way of ensuring that the name that you registered is operating somewhere, unless it is the nature of a business that requires returns, like a company. So you'll have to say what you've been trading in, what you've been doing, and that kind of a thing.
Yeah, for example, you want to change the name of your business.
Yes.
You had registered under the name ABC.
Yes.
You want to change to XYZ.
Yes.
How does it go?
First of all, that is possible. You register the business, the new one. Yeah. Then you apply to the period of that registration service. They will tell you that now we have drawn down this one. We have removed it.
All right.
Yes.
So, Sawa, you had given us the figure for registering a name.
Yes.
To 9?
Yes, 950.
950.
Yeah, it's what you pay at Huduma Center after you have done the background. After you have done the search of the name, it is declared available, you pay 950.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I'm being informed you need to go for a short break in a short while.
Yes.
When you are coming back, you'll tell us, do you have other categories? You have other categories for the figures?
Yes, we have
We'll
all the
do it
figures.
after the break.
Yes.
Just to remind you, dear viewer, that today we are talking about the business taxes. And today we are having Ayuka Ondieki, who is an advocate of High Court. And today we are asking you one very simple question. What business taxes should be abolished? Which one do you feel should be abolished? You can talk to us via 23814. That is our usual SMS number. For WhatsApp number 0721 105 105. Today we are talking about the business taxes, and we are asking you what business taxes should be abolished. Our SMS number 23814. Usual SMS number for WhatsApp number 0721 105 105. And today we are having Mr. Ayuka Ondieki, who is an advocate of High Court, with my colleague Mangicho Mola, and my name is Paul Kagi. We are taking a short break. When we are coming back, we shall be talking about different figures when you are opening a business. We will be right back after this.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Next on
kando na maombi yetu na shughuli zote kwa hii familia kuiombea, hii ndio tunapata.
Kijana, hebu toka.
Kama anaondoka, nami naenda naye. Rega, hebu twende. Mali hapa pana niudhi.
Wewe ndiwe bwana Ken Kibeki.
Ndio.
Aha, basi tuko hapa kwa ajili ya kijana wako.
Lakini ona, wahitaji kuona mtu. Nani? Profesa Kokula.
Maadui ambao wanajifanya marafiki. Hii ni kazi ya adui.
Hivi sasa tufanyeje?
Chukua huu ubani.
Kikombe imetoboka, utasemaje kwa kizungu?
Hey, come look at this.
Kikombe imetoboka. The cup have a puncture.
Kukande kwa kizungu?
The person is anyhowly.
Ulisikia wapi? Ulisikia wapi?
Anyhowly.
Aya, kuna mahali fulani kwa hii dunia, na nataka uniambie ni wapi. Kuna mahali fulani kwa hii dunia where today comes before tomorrow. Ni wapi?
Jerusalem. Jerusalem.
Kuna huyu mnyama anaitwa nyati. Nyati kwa kizungu anaitwa nani?
Hippo. Hippopotamus.
Kutulia ni tuli na kufunga?
Fu. Fu.
Life is brimming with moments worth celebrating. The dreams we chase, the connections we cherish, the laughter that fills our hearts. These are the true treasures. But sometimes, the path to those moments can feel clouded by financial worries. What if you could invest in a future where chasing your dreams isn't just a desire, but a reality? With N-Wealth Capital, small steps lead to big possibilities. With N-Wealth Money Market Fund, you can secure your financial future for a better tomorrow. meticulously crafted for growth, carefully managed for safety of your investments and growth, you can invest as little as 1,000 Kenyan shillings. Whether you yearn for the freedom to travel, the joy of owning a home, or the security of a comfortable retirement, we enable your dreams to reality. Sign up today through www.nwealth.co.ke/capital or call 0700-617-443 and secure a lifetime of financial well-being and dignity through nWealth. nWealth Capital Unit Trust Scheme is approved by CMA, which does not take responsibility for the financial soundness of the scheme. Prices of shares and income may fluctuate and the right to redeem shares may be suspended. nWealth Capital Limited is a subsidiary entity of nWealth Financial Services Limited with regulatory approvals to provide pensions, investments, and insurance services. Welcome to Africa International University, where education meets transformation. At AIU, we don't just educate, we inspire and innovate, shaping Christ-centered leaders who will transform Africa and the world. Our academic programs cater to every ambition: certificates, diplomas, bachelor's, postgraduate, master's, and PhDs. Join our international community and embark on an exciting academic journey that goes beyond borders. We lead, we innovate, we inspire, because at AIU, we are more than a university. We are a family with a common goal of transforming the world. The time is now. Enroll in AIU and be a part of a university in the heart of Africa, with Africa on its heart. Africa International University, where dreams take flight and leaders are born.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Welcome back to Legal Tuesday. And advocate, tumekuwa tukizungumzia kuhusiana na the kind of maybe fee for various kind of categories. Yes, we may continue.
For registration of various categories of businesses, the only fees we can discuss here that is fixed ni ile ya serikali. Even the advocate's fees who will assist you do that is also fixed, but that is another area. But kwa serikali, kwa private company limited, when you form your limited liability company, you pay 10,650. When you register a PLC, public limited liability company, that means hiyo kampuni inaweza kusajiliwa kule kwa stock exchange. Shares are open to your neighbors and everybody else. You pay the same, 10,650. Unlimited companies, people say, I will take the risk. My company will not be limited. Kama ina pesa, nitachilipia. Beginning, we need to explain what limited means.
Yes.
So unlimited companies, you pay 20,050 as the registration fees. There are companies that are limited by guarantee. That is, they are guaranteed by the government. These are basically things like parastatals that end up in the business arena. So their debt, their performance is guaranteed by either the government or by individuals or an organization. Those ones you pay 10,000. Then there is the one you are talking about. You form a limited partnership between you and Mangicho. Here you say we're going to have a partnership, but our liability is going to be limited this way. You call them LLBs. You pay 25,000. Those yes.
Hii tu ni fee ya kuanzisha peke yake.
Yes, ya kulipa to the government.
And then you pay the other fees. depending on the kind of business that you'll be operating.
The kind of business you'll be operating now, there will be licensing. You have to deal with the local authorities in licensing. You have to deal with the taxes that come with the products you are receiving and selling.
Yes, you'll go there in a short while, but you have talked about the limited and unlimited companies.
Yes.
What is the difference?
Limited companies, it simply means that the company is an individual. It is separate from you. Your liability, the liability of the company is not personal. We have to go get the company, get its assets, pay its debts, before we come and say, this was your company, come and pay now the debts. We have exhausted the limit of the assets of the company.
Oh.
Yeah. A company is a separate individual. It will have a PIN, it will have an identity, a registration identity. It can own land.
Hii ndio ulisema last week, nikiwa ninataka kampuni yenyewe iko na matatizo, nataka kuipeleka kotini, itashtaki kampuni sio mtu.
Yes, utashtaki kampuni sio mtu. Ndio. That's a limited liability company.
Okay.
Yes.
So the other one is opposite of what you have said.
Yes. The other one is opposite of that. The unlimited companies that are unlimited, those are very, very rare. They used to operate like most of the land buying companies were not limited companies. They were just companies that were purchasing land, distributing and going their way. That time there were quite a number of unlimited companies, but now most companies are limited. Yes. Okay. Most of those you come across are limited companies. Yes.
Wow, that is so good. And maybe Kagi, you can take a few questions here.
Yes.
Because I can see already some of our viewers already engaging us, and they are really getting impressed with this particular discussion. Wakili, one is saying here, there is one viewer who is saying, I'm a business student. Kindly ask Wakili to define in wide perspective what is business law in relation to give Caesar what belongs to Caesar. What is business law in relation to give Caesar what belongs to Caesar? Yes. Then maybe I can take one more. There is another one here saying, MBCI, I'm watching the program, and I would like to ask, if one starts a business and they want to change the entire format of the business, does it mean they have to start again from registration point?
Let's start with the last one. Say you have a business registered in a name that points to the business, like an emporium that sells furniture and clothes, and you have called it X Emporium. You want to change that business into something else, like perhaps hardware. It may be efficient for you to register the hardware afresh. Okay. But the neutral businesses that are registered in terms of X enterprises, you can move it from the selling of furniture to selling of cement to another business without necessarily requiring that you go for fresh registration. So it depends on the nature of the business and what your aims are in that business. Now, our student of business law obviously knows that business law is like, how do we call it? It's a very, very huge area, and it contains so many things in it. But then when it comes to tax laws are specific. They have been enacted for particular issues: import, export, trading, taxes, consumption tax, and sales taxes. That is where the business law, it's a subtopic of business law. But business law is a huge area, from contract to insurance to all those things are in the business law arena. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe before we move on to the taxes, anything that you feel you need to add from what you have been discussing?
What I could add is that business registration regime is a very simple thing. It's people are encouraged to register. It organizes the person when you are doing business as a registered entity. So it is easy. The procedures take these days up to a week. That is the business, that's the statement in the government office. But it may take you 14 days to conclude, but it's a good thing to do registration and structure the business according to the law. Yes.
Sawa sawa. Thank you, Wakili. And I think now we can move on to the other area.
Yeah, sure.
Regarding to the business taxes, you can take over.
Exactly, yeah. And I think these are very, very important area where we would like now Wakili to help us to be in a position now to understand what are some of these business taxes that maybe a citizen or one maybe who's even aspiring maybe to undertake a particular business venture, they are supposed to actually maybe to put into consideration when they are doing the same.
Yes. Like we mentioned a while back, business taxes are a product of two things. The law, that is the legislation. There are laws that exist that require particular payments of particular taxes over the lifetime of the business. And also the yearly budget is the second source. That is when the Minister for Finance has a budget approved in Parliament, it contains some changes to the taxes that also become law. That is why, you hear politicians saying, we're starting the budget making cycle. It starts from February to April. The budget is ready, then it is legislated in June. Now, business taxes really depend on what you are doing. There are direct taxes that citizens pay, those ones we should differentiate them and put them aside. The taxes that you pay as you earn, that one comes from your salary. That's a direct tax. Now, most of the business, there are also indirect taxes. We should go with that dichotomy, where you have taxes that you pay when you purchase goods, excise duty, customs duty, levies and VAT. Those are indirect taxes, because you pay once you buy your piece of soap, you pay to your 16% indirectly as a tax. That's why we were saying that our friend the businessman has been paying input taxes. What he is resisting is the output tax. Now, as a business person, if you register a company, if you register a simple business, most of the taxes you will be paying are these indirect taxes as a business name. But if it is a company pays 30% of its profits if it's a local company. If it is a China Bridge and a corporation that is making roads in Kenya, taxation is 37% of its profit. That is what they call corporation tax. Yeah. If your company is a foreign company, it is 37.5%. Local companies this year are paying 30%. Now there is, of course, VAT for all the things you consume. It is fixed every year. Like for fuel, it is 16%, and that is the most famous one. Now, if your business exports, there are no taxes for exporting. It is just obeying the regulations. Like if you are exporting meat products to Dubai, what you need to do is to pay for inspection at Wilson Airport, at the port of exit, and those kind of payments.
Maybe they pay when they go to the other end.
Yes. Now, import. When you import the goods for your boutique from Turkey, that's where the taxes are assessed. So import duties come into place. So the government is encouraging you to export our products. Take our avocados to China, take them wherever. We will not directly tax you, but you will pay for regulated services. Inspection by the agriculture officer, inspection by the health officer, and those kind of things. Then your goods go. But when you bring in your goods, those ones are subject to assessment. The assessment comes in terms of personal declaration most of the time, then a random check by the customs people. You bring a container of refrigerators. You say, I'll put this, all these goods are second-hand, I'll put them at $2,000 or $20,000. The customs people have a right to go through your imports and say, no, we think these goods are worth more than $25,000, so our percentage is this. So that is when you are importing. So that's when you pay custom and excise duty under Cap 472. This custom and excise duty, which you have heard, it is levied on bottled water, soft drinks, cigarettes, wines, and alcohol. That one is also fixed yearly, that this year it shall be this percentage of the sales. And what has changed recently is that the government is insisting on collecting it on exit of the product. That is, like if the goods have left your go down, the government assumes that you earned the money, so you pay your excise duty. Yes.
As you continue, what's the meaning of double taxation?
Double taxation could be in a case where you have purchased goods, like you purchase goods from X, you pay tax, you paid the indirect tax. You paid VAT on those goods. Then when you sell them, you are taxed on that income. That will become double taxation. Yes.
Does it fall under the category of legal or illegal?
There's a very, very thin line. There's a careful way in which the authorities calculate this and ensure that you don't suffer double taxation. Like you purchased timber to make a bed to sell. When they will be taxing this bed, they will be at the back of their mind, there is the fact that you paid VAT on your timber, VAT on your on the nails and the wool and all that. So when you are selling, the sale tax is lower. It's adjusted. Yes.
And actually that one also, Wakili Kagi, also brings me to another point that is related to what Kagi has been asking. Now, what is the procedure like for identifying or determining how the taxes can actually be increased for a particular business venture? Because you'll realize, Wakili, that maybe when a business starts, in most cases, it will start maybe from a very small level, but maybe as days goes by, there is maybe a likelihood that that particular business can continue to rise. So, according to law, so what should be the way to determine?
Most taxes are, first of all, at the basic self-assessed. It is the businessman who makes the declaration to government on the sales and pays taxes.
In the initial stage?
Yes, at all the stages. Now, what may happen is that as the business increases, the declaration, the amount in the declaration increases. So it's a natural progression about input, that is the goods you bring to the shop, and the output, the sales that you've done.
So it is incumbent upon the business person.
Yes. Otherwise, taxes as an item are fixed, either as a percentage or as a cutoff. Like after you sell 10,000 of this, you shall pay this. But if, they say the excise duty on this item is 2%. Let's say you sold 10,000 of the items last year. This year you sell 20,000. The tax will reflect your the volume sale. So the tax rate is fixed the amount payable is what changes according to your output, number of goods that have gone over your shelf. Yes.
And which is the main taxes that, according to your own interpretation, observation, many business people are feeling as if they say overburdening them. They are not comfortable. They try to evade.
Most of the tax that is direct and affects people across the board is consumption tax. That is VAT. Once VAT is fixed, that is what is payable for that entire period. You see, next year the government may decide that VAT on fuel, which has now become a political issue, comes down to 8%. So everybody will come down to 8%. That is the one that people feel, since it affects people across the board, from the person who buys a Menengai Passoff to the person who drives a V8. All of them are paying VAT in one way or the other. So that is the tax that you can say most people feel and see. Once you import your goods from Turkey, your suits, and you bring them and you value them, you say this suit is 18,000. You know you paid customs perhaps 500 shillings for each of these suits. You purchased them at 12,000. You have calculated that this is not a tax that most people could complain about because they build it into the sales cost, the cost of selling. And of course, taxes that go into the construction industry, cement and other products that we use in construction. Those ones affect too many people. Because if you are building one room and I'm building a mansion, and the Mola is building a big hotel, all of us are consuming a particular amount of cement, a particular amount of building materials. So that is a tax that affects people across the board. And if you investigate, if you go into the details, you will find that it is VAT on things that you are buying. It is VAT on this, that, and that will feature in all of them, the consumption tax.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And maybe as we continue kuhusu mambo hii ya kulipa ushuru, wakati ambapo mtu anapotoa ushuru labda kupitia mshahara wake, anatarajia serikali impatie huduma fulani. Lakini kwa mfanyabiashara or a business, what kind of maybe expectation do they have when they are paying all these taxes to government? What are the expectations?
The business person is hoping that the government will start policies that favor his business. Like the government will build good roads so that our people at Simba Cement can take the cement to Mount Narok and sell it. That is the expectation they could have. They could also perhaps want the government to ensure that the imported products that they need for this manufacture are perhaps zero rated, or the taxes are lowered and the clearance system is easy, so that the goods get to the factory at a much lower cost. So the expectation of business people on the government when paying taxes is basically on the business environment, from security to transport to all manner of things that affect the running of the business. Yes.
And there is also this other aspect that okay, sometimes we always hear, and maybe you can also help us and our viewers also get notes of it, and maybe what could be the procedure of having the same when you talk about tax relief.
Tax relief comes in also from the finance bill, in that there are things, inputs on the things that once you've done them, you should be relieved of a tax related to that. Like once you take, say, life insurance for yourself, or a medical cover, for example, once you take some particular kind of actions, they embarked on the duty of the government to provide a service that is similar on the other side. So you can say, you can claim this relief on account of this particular expense. Tax relief used to be an item basically among employed couples. You're paying a tax, then your couple is supposed to be paying the same tax. So that's where it originated from. So they said now this one here can claim relief because the same family is asking for maybe a housing levy. Those are the structures that people keep talking about. In business, yes, there are items that can be granted tax relief. That you can get a tax relief for, like, let's assume you imported machinery for an hospital, a mission hospital. You've gotten your x-rays from Italy, they are all here, and you go to the tax person and tell them, we are not a profit-making organization, we are a mission hospital, and we need to get relief on taxes for importing this. They may calculate and remove all of it, or a particular part of the taxes. They may tell you now, excise duty, let's pay excise duty only, don't get this, and some items.
Actually, that is very interesting, Kage, because we've had quite a number of organizations saying they are non-profit making.
Yes.
So they are exempted from tax?
They are not exempted from tax as a whole. What happens is that you keep making claims of what tax you think you shouldn't pay, and the commissioner will look at it and say, well, this one qualifies, this one does not qualify. Yes. So it's a matter of assessment, really.
Assessing.
Yes.
Okay. I think we are heading to another level, Mangicho.
Yes.
Before I take you to the inside law and discussion of the same, and today's discussion, Wakili, we have a session called the Inside Law.
Yes.
We shall be discussing about the regional trade enhancement, particularly the East African Cooperation, how we are doing on our trade collaborations to make sure that we are creating a good environment for our East African trade. We shall be discussing that later on. But I think, Mangicho, today you have also the legal terminology.
Yes, we have the legal terminology for today in relation to what has actually been happening in the country in the recent past, and we want to get the detail of this particular term. And you're looking at this particular term, homicide. We are looking at this particular term, homicide. I know most of us have been seeing this name on our screens, or maybe they've even been hearing it in our radio stations, or also maybe even reading the name in our newspapers or even in the social media. So when you talk about homicide, it's the killing of one human being by another. Includes first and second degree murder and manslaughter. So when you talk about homicide, is the killing of one human being by another, includes first and second degree murder and manslaughter. Now I think we can bring on Wakili to help us with this particular term. And even when you talk about first degree and second degree, maybe most people are wondering, what do you mean when you talk about first degree and second degree?
I think that definition is borrowed heavily from the American legal system.
Okay.
That is where they have those gradations of first degree, second degree murder. But in our situation in Kenya, homicide is classified as murder or manslaughter.
Okay.
That's how we mostly classify it. Now, murder, most people think that the killing of a human being is murder. The killing of a human being by another is homicide. So murder is a legal term that refers to two particular things: that a human being has killed another with the intent to kill, and with a plan that his actions lead to the death of the other person. That is murder.
And now we have femicide. So when we hear about femicide now, is killing of women. It's not necessarily the opposite of homicide.
It's not the opposite of homicide. What has happened is that because of a particular focus on recent events, where women have been murdered in large numbers, or there is an increase in numbers of women that have been murdered recently, somebody has said that there is a target. This target is targeting the female, so we call it femicide. If we were in Russia, we could be having the crime of femicide. In Russia, they even have the crime of all the killings are classified. Patricide, the killing of a father; matricide, the killing of a mother. Them they have classified their law up to those points. But in Kenya, even those people who are committing femicide will be charged with murder. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's good, and that is the legal terminology. Yes.
To even think if the Wakili has clarified, if maybe the terminology femicide comes from killing many women, I was trying to go deeper and think if it is the other way around, that is killing by many men. It is called the menicide. But I think that is out of order.
Maybe it will be patricide, but then it is a discussion. The people coined the term wanted a discussion about a particular event, a particular increment of a crime involving particular people, women. So let's say there is femicide. That was the purpose of that terminology. But otherwise, all of them are murder.
Good. Yes. Kagi, take us to the inside of the law.
Yes, and dear viewer, today we have the Inside Law together with us, and today we want to go beyond the borders, and we have a talk on the regional trade enhancement. And this is whereby we are talking about mostly on East African community. And we know that the East African community is very key in establishing a very conducive business environment whereby we are trading between Kenya and Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania, Uganda and Rwanda, Rwanda and Tanzania, and even today in Somalia and other East African countries like Ethiopia. Kwa hivyo leo tunaangalia kuhusiana na hizi sheria zinazotumika katika kanda hii, na tunaangalia kuhusu the regional enhancement trade. Now we can say that a number of measures have been taken at the community, that is EAC, East African Community level, to enhance trade, and they include the following. Number one, we have what we call the Custom Union Protocol. If you go to the next one, the Custom Union Protocol, which says that it includes furthering the liberalization of intra-regional trade in goods. Custom Union Protocol inasaidia kuona kwamba tunaimarisha ule hali ya kuuziana bidhaa katika kanda hii ya Afrika Mashariki. Na pili, enhancing the domestic cross-border and foreign investment, kuona kwamba kazi ambayo tunafanya kutoka mpaka huu hadi ule mpaka mwingine imewekwa katika mazingira ambayo ni ya kisawasawa. Pia the second one, the enhancing of the East African trade, is regarding to trade facilitation. Here we mean that to cooperate in simplifying, standardizing, and harmonizing trade information and documentation to facilitate trade and goods. Hii ni kumaanisha kwamba tuweke mazingira kuona kwamba wakati katika nchi za Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki tunapouziana bidhaa, kama kuna stakabadhi zinazohitajika kufanya hiyo kazi zimerahisishwa. Kama kuna kitu kinahitajika ili bidhaa ziweze kuuzwa pia tunarahisisha. Then number 3, there's what we call the anti-doping measures. Here the community has developed anti-doping regulations as elaborately highlighted in the EACC Custom Union Protocol, na kuona kwamba kama kuna hali yote ambayo inahusu mambo inahusu kutumia dawa, especially wakati wa michezo na mambo kama hayo, kama tumeamua kama East African community we are against any use of any kind of drug or dawa za kulevya, tutumie njia zote kuona kwamba kanuni zilizowekwa zinafuatwa. The other one is competition policy and law. Katika kila biashara tunajua kwamba kuna ushindani mkali, na kama kuna ushindani lazima kuwe kuna ushindani ambao unafuata sheria. Kwa hivyo katika Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki lazima hakikisha kwamba it has deterred any practice that adversely affects free trade within community. Kama kuna kitu yote ambao inaadhiri biashara kati ya mataifa ya Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki imeshughulikiwa. We go further. There is again what we call, after the competition policy and law, there is what we call the re-export of goods. The re-export of goods, here we are talking about the re-exports are to be exempted from the payment of imports or export duties. Ni kuhakikisha kwamba bidhaa zote ambazo tunabadilisha kutoka hapa mpaka mahali pengine zisaidia kuona kwamba kama kuna any form of duties tunapouziana bidhaa tukikubaliana zisiondolewe katika eneo la Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki. And the other one is non-tariff barriers, what they call the NTBs to trade. Non-tariff barriers inaongea kuhusiana na the Customs Union Protocol. Kama kuna any form of tax or barrier yote ambayo pesa zinatolewa wakati ambapo unauza bidhaa katika Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki, tunaona kwamba hizi zote zimetolewa. Si kwamba between Kenya and Uganda zinatolewa, between Uganda and Rwanda hazitolewi, iwe ni katika Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki yote, sisi wote tunahakikisha kwamba kama tumekubaliana hakuna kutoa ada fulani, iwe ni hivyo. Maybe ya mwisho is the standards and measures. EACC partner states recognize the importance of standardization, quality assurance, metrology and testing, the promotion of trade and investment and customer protection among other things. Kwamba katika kazi yote kwa wafanya katika Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki kuwe kuna usawa wa kila namna. Kwa mfano, mambo ya quality assurance. Kama tunauza bidhaa fulani kwa kiwango fulani, iwe hivyo kwa kila mtu. Isiwe hapa tunauza substandard, ingine iko standard. Hapana, iwe ni hivyo. Vile vile mambo inahusu na customer protection, lazima tulinde pia wale ambao wananunua bidhaa zetu. Kwamba any product that is circulated around East Africa inaouzwa katika Jumuiya ya Afrika Mashariki, lazima tulinde wale ambao wananunua, isiwe kwamba inaweza kuwadhuru. Nafikiri ni hapo tu. Sijui wakili, just a nutshell regarding to the East African trade enhancement. I don't know, what would you say about any legal framework ambazo zimewekwa kuona kwamba any business that is being done within the East African countries is being done in the correct manner? Or maybe what have you picked from what I've just presented here?
I think basically the East African community, all the laws that you have discussed are aimed at expanding the business area. Like as a business person in Nakuru, you know that you have opportunities from here all the way to Lubumbashi in DRC, because we are members of the East African community. You know that the tariffs have been unified. You know that you can travel with your ID card. You know that the customs that I paid are the same. And the budgets generally are read on the same day or the same week in the entire region, so that all ministers impose the same taxes on goods. Then it's important also to notice that there is a re-export law, so that if you have already paid your customs duty for importing goods to Kenya, you cannot go to Uganda and pay the same duty you paid when you got them from Turkey. Now they are Kenyan goods going to Uganda, subject to our local laws and taxation regimes. So that is my take, especially the free movement of people from here to all the member states using just your ID. Because the customs protocol requires that you only identify yourself as a man from Burundi, a man from Kenya or something like that. And it has had a huge impact because if you have not, if you've been gone to third market, the down market for shoes, people hawking second-hand shoes in Nakuru are mostly nationals of Burundi.
Yeah, and Kagi, still on that line.
Yes.
When these laws are made, Wakili, especially now for something like the East African Trading Bloc, is it by the East Africa Assembly? And how do these laws also become reconciled with individual country laws?
There is a process we call the process of domestication. Kuleta sheria jini kwa nje yenu. Countries are like municipalities. We bring it to the municipal law. So what happens is that once it has been agreed, in fact it goes the other way around. They are adopted by individual parliaments, then escalated to the East African Parliament. Yes, it goes the other direction. That once it has been agreed as the Council of Ministers, you come and create the law in Kenya, in Kampala, in Tanzania, and then now the East African Assembly adopts the law. Yes.
Maybe ya mwisho, wakati ambapo kama Kenya kumekuwa na shida ya any business maybe law which has not been practiced in East Africa, kama nchi fulani imekataa kutimiza sheria fulani, ina complain wapi? Ni kwa the culprit country ama namna gani?
If you realize recently Uganda has gone to court against Kenya over the importation of oil. The problem has been that Uganda wants its oil corporation to be registered as a company in Kenya so that it buys the oil alongside the Kenyan companies and takes the oil to Uganda so that they don't suffer the high cost of buying from Kenyan companies. They have complained to the East African Court of Justice. They have filed a suit there, but locally there is also a suit affecting the same issue that is filed in Machakos. So you can enforce your right in the municipal, that is in the country, or you go directly to the East African Community.
And also the individual countries can also decide that instead of maybe going the long legal way, they might decide to find out other amicable solutions outside the court.
The protocol creating the East African Community has arbitration clauses, that is for sure. There is a dispute resolution mechanism within the protocols that created the community. So that is also available. In fact, if you look at the Kenya case, Uganda versus Kenya case, the first objection I had the AG from Kenya discuss was that we have not tried to arbitrate this. Why are you taking it to court?
The problem was just arbitration.
Yes. No, the beginning should have been arbitration.
Yeah, because we also had that. We also had also a simulative Kagi between Kenya and Tanzania, especially relating to air transport. Okay, and this was threatening actually to bring a very bad scenario in terms of how the two countries would actually maybe cooperate in terms of business. So what would be the most effective way, Wakili, maybe of looking into some of these issues when they occur?
I think the best thing, first of all, is the countries are always represented by ministers. The ministers must be ready to discuss go the arbitration way, because the court way may take a longer time and they may expose differences that citizens need not know about. So the most efficient way is to arbitrate them, obey the protocols. Say, if you have agreed on this, let it be the law.
All right, thank you for that insight, Wakili, and I think now we can move on to something we call the profile. Mangicho, I believe today you also have something new for us under the profile.
Yeah, we've prepared for you also the legal profile for today, and today we are focusing on this gentleman by the name Professor Yashpal Ghai. Professor Yashpal Ghai is the one that we are focusing today on our legal profile. And of course, I know so many Kenyans have heard of this particular name, Professor Yashpal Ghai, especially in in relation to the Constitution. Born on 20th of October 1938, that is in Kenyan. He is a Kenyan academic in constitutional law. Professor Yashpal Gai studied law at the Oxford University and also Harvard Law School. In 1989, at Sir Y.K. Pao, Professor of Public Law at Hong Kong University. He has also taught and did research in law at the University of Warwick and Uppsala University in Sweden. He also taught law courses at the Wisconsin Law School and the then University of East Africa, Dar es Salaam. In 2007, he was actually the head of Constitutional Advisory of the United Nations Development Program in Nepal. Of course, we've already said in 2008, Special Representative of the UN Secretary General in Cambodia on human rights. And then between the year 2000 and 2004, he was the chairman of the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission that attempted to write the modern constitution. And I know this is where maybe most Kenyans would actually remember him, 2000 to 2004, when he was the chairman of the Constitution of Kenya Review Commission. This, of course, was a team that was really helping to come up with the new constitution. Other areas is that he was elected by the Fijian military government to be the chairman of the Fiji's Constitution Committee, and he advised and assisted NGOs on human rights law related work. He has drafted the Asian Human Rights Charter, which was a project of the Asian Human Rights Commission. And this gentleman by the name Professor Yashpal Gai has also written several books on law in Africa, Pacific Islands and elsewhere. That is Professor Yashpal Gai. Of course, I know, Wakili, you have one word or two about Professor Yashpal Gai.
Yes, perhaps the profile could have been more correct if you indicated that he was born in Kiambu town.
Yes.
That is, his home is actually in Kiambu town.
Kiambu is.
Yes, yes, that's where that's where he was born. He's a true Kenyan.
He's a true Kenyan.
A patriot. We read his books when we were in school. Guy and Makoslan on constitutional law. He has placed Kenya in the map of legal studies, especially due to the work you have shown there. He has done a lot of work. He also happens to be a very, very, even at his age, very hard-working.
Yes.
He works very, very, very hard. He's not a man that will wait for his driver down here. Most of the time he tells his driver where he's going. Yes. You look for him along that street. He will be walking the direction he tells you. Yeah, he never waits for anybody to get the car from the parking. Yes, like when he was famous when he was heading the commission in Kenya. Yes. He has a meeting in Parliament. The car is in the basement. He gets out of the office and he walks towards Parliament. So the government driver could be driving along looking for him till he gets him on the road to Parliament. Yes. Yes.
That's quite interesting. And maybe just one more, when it comes to the process and of constitution making, since they are being the chairman 2000 and 2004. Yes. Maybe what in your own thinking, from where you sit, Wakili, do you think would be some of the issues that maybe he really really desired to see maybe in the constitution that he was actually anticipating to help Kenyans have?
The attempts to make a constitution in Kenya had created a situation where we had discussed the topic for so long that the committees that came before Yashpal Gai had created a camel while attempting to create a horse. So he came and assisted people trim the areas and create the horse that could ride. Yeah. That was the first thing. Then the chapters on human rights. He's a human rights specialist, and the governance and human rights are products of a constitution you could expect a guy to write. That is his area. And if you look at the current constitution, it has a lot of space on the human rights rights and governance issues. Yes.
Wow.
Right, and I think as we are coming close to the program, Wakili, I'll give you 1 minute to give a summary or maybe an advice to those who are operating business. Just to mention that although Yashwal Guy has been very instrumental in many areas, academic and constitution, one thing is that he has not been a darling of the regime any other time. I don't know why, but he's very instrumental. If you could look at the profile, he has been very instrumental in helping many countries to come up with the constitution, right? Yes, by the way. But Wakili, as we close the program in 1 minute, what is your rich counsel to our business people in terms of paying taxes?
First thing, it's just like we said last time, obedience is cheaper. Remember, all unpaid tax uniformly attracts 2% of the unpaid amount per month. So if you're not remitted the 410,000 on your VAT sales, such a percentage is being levied at KRA. The government is very slow in collecting its debts, but like the tortoise, it finally crosses the road and gets to you. So it is better to obey and avoid the penalties.
Yeah, and Kagi, I'm just remembering the clip that we watched just as we were beginning the show. Of course, it ended before we could now maybe determine what really happened now that these particular officers were there. So what are the likely scenarios, Wakili, that happened to that particular business person?
Most likely they must have followed a letter asking for business records, banking records, and that kind of a thing. That letter could also ask for employment records, salary payment, and that kind of information that could assist the tax authorities look in depth and say your declarations are true or untrue. So there's nothing that could happen on that day, but obviously when those officers got back to the office, there must have been a letter.
And of course the businessman trying to argue to them that they've seen him, the day has been very bad, no business. That is not an excuse enough. They need to have documents.
Yes.
Okay.
Right, and we want to thank you so much for finding time to be together with us in today's program. Wiki iliyopita na wiki hii tumekuwa tukizungumzia kuhusu sheria za biashara, na pia leo tumezungumzia kuhusu ushuru katika biashara yako. Tumekuwa na wakili katika mahakama kuu Bwana Ayuka Ondieki, ametusaidia kuweza kuchambua masuala haya yote kwa muda wa majuma mawili. Tunakushukuru sana kwa sababu ya kutafuta time ya kuwa pamoja nasi wakili. Hadi wiki ijayo, majaliwa yake Mwenyezi Mungu, mimi naitwa Paul Kagi. Kwaheri kwa sasa.
And thank you so much for making time. It's been very enlightening, very captivating, and very informative, and that is our desire to make it better and better for you. Tomorrow, of course, we'll be again here on the Leadership Wednesday. Make sure to find time to be with us. Until then, enjoy the rest of your viewing and have a blessed afternoon. My name is Mangicho Mola.